now work over the DP Biology IA draft for Student O. Firstly, when I look at these, it looks like you've got a number of variables changing. It needs to be redone. Your primary dependent variable is distance up the hill. You then looked at light levels, moisture levels, and other things as potential reasons for this. These both need to be redone to make sure that you match that here. Now, we have a problem. I look at that. Does not match your works cited. I look at this. It's not matched in your works cited. I look at the following. Can't find it in your works cited. I did manage to find this, but it's called something different. You need to redo all of your in-text citations. They must be the first 1, 2, 3 words or so from your works cited section, so that when someone goes there, they quickly and exactly see an exact match. Looking at your hypothesis, come back to your core business. Your core business is number of lichen and distance up the slope. So, as it goes up, lichen species cover increases. Good. Full stop. Then something that's maybe due to lower light levels or which will be measured. But start with your core business. Then onto your possible reasons why. Looking here, again, as these are your core, they should be first. This is something you're checking to see if it's the reason why. I suggest relate this to distance up the hill, allowing you to cover the whole slope. You didn't just pick 35 meters because you like 35, it's your lucky number. It matched the even distance up the hill. I don't think it was due to, it's probably more like to avoid. Okay, your variables table. Maybe add in the scientific name here. React, surely that means grow. And different tree species. Some of this stuff, not sure it should be here. Okay, 10 by 10 what? Surely there's a unit. I know it's 10 by 10 partitions, but there's also a size. The next one, 1 meter. I thought it was actually centered on 1 meter, so it'll be something like 0.95 up to 1.05 meters. That's not really clear here. The transects, what about them? Weren't they evenly spaced? Make it clear. This is not as clear as it could be. These 3 variables are not variables that you control. So they probably need their own table, because up here, controlled variables. These are variables that you couldn't control but measured to be potential reasons for the pattern that you saw. As I said on the last page, we need a size here. Good to see this, but add in, see table 2. You made the table, let's people see it. I would suggest for this stuff, list it with bullet points. Easier for people to read when they can go ding, 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 and it's all there. Don't think you need to say this here. This wasn't what you did as you did it at the beginning. This was done later. Several trees. No, there were many oak trees. Yeah, make sure you stick to what you've said, oak trees. Now, preferably, hold on, stop preferably. That sounds like, well, if I can, you're supposed to be saying what you did, which means in this case, you found a slope that was even to use. Now, be very careful when you get to here, because, you've got an X and a Y. I would have thought the Y is up the hill and the X are the ones that you randomized on. It's not so clear here and in following places. Be careful here. You recommend, didn't you ask AI? Now this is, if it's up the hill, isn't that the Y? Just have a look at what you've done. Make sure you sort that out. Okay, make sure you don't use a tree again. Okay, what do you do if it is a tree again? You don't mention that anywhere. If a tree is the same, do you take an extra random point? What happens? Now we get into here, you talk about find the biggest. What is biggest? Are we talking radius, diameter, area? Okay, you say diameter here, therefore make it consistent. Distance, across the hill, up the hill, make sure this is clear. Now I'm a little bit confused about this. Stick the soil probe in, measure it. Great, except there's a tree in the way. So what did you actually do? Did you move out 10 centimeters? How did you actually do that? Good to see this down here, but we've stuck it in the ground way up here. Not sure plug's the right word. So surely this should come up here somewhere, so we're not reading 3 or 4 more lines going how deep to find the answer. A lot of your writing is quite colloquial. For example, you can just start with calculate all the way through. This is something you could work on. Okay, if something is an outlier, so what? Do you use it? Do you discard it? You've told me there might be an outlier. That means nothing yet. As a hint, unless you have a reason the tree was dead, there was a stream nearby, or something else, you can't just discard a point because it doesn't match your pattern. You need a real reason to discard data points. Now this really isn't steeper uphill. Further, I think. Was the transect laid across the hill? Along? No, have a think about that. Ditto here. Is it across? Is it up? Not so clear. Good general safety here, but looking at the area you're in, what about ticks? There was Lyme disease. What about nettle? Ouchie. What about blackberry? And what about the other plant we had there that just had really horrible spikes on it? Good generic stuff, but make it a wee bit more specific to what you did. Looking at your qualitative observations, most of these are numbers and words, which means they're just quantitative data. Qualitative data should not be, oh, I got this number and that number, and there was this number of things and that number. That's not a qualitative observation. FB, I could only think of Facebook, not sure what you're asking there. Now this table's a wee bit challenging to read. I do like that it's all on one page, but my suggestion would be to come up here, Control Enter or Command Enter on a Mac, so it's on a new page, and then increase the font size till it takes up the whole page so that it's much easier to read. Again, size, what does that really mean? Good to see uncertainties here. Good to see from when I look around consistent decimal places in each column and the same decimal places for the mean and the standard deviation. Although when I see average mean, I'm a little bit confused. Is this an average? Is this a mean? Is it a mean of averages? Average of means? I think one word would probably do there all the way down. Ouchie, really does that match the rest of your data? I do not believe it does. Most of this I just cannot read. My suggestion would be move it all to an appendix. Good to see the source. I love that. Put them above each other. Make them bigger so they can be read. Come here and do this in your own words, your own report, your own language. Okay, Tukey's is on the social sciences test. I believe it might just follow on if you scroll down from the ANOVA. Come see me if you're not sure and I'll show you how to find it. Good looking graph, but be proud of the thing. Make it bigger. If you make this bigger, the text is going to come all the way down to here. It's going to fit nicely. Nice trend. Good R squared. But hold on. What are the error bars? They're all different sizes. That's an indicator that they're probably right. So you need to be saying something about error bars equal da 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 da. Usually in the title makes it the clearest. Ditto bigger. Ditto bigger. So your text flows down. Now I look at this and all of them, you've got title 1, title 2. Really? You don't need 2 titles. Pick which one's best and use that one. Remembering to add error bars. Now, big question here. There seems to be stuff missing, or it was the stuff on the last page that I just can't read. Where are your correlations with light intensity? You thought that could be a reason. You measured soil moisture, all those things. I don't see data for that. My suggestion, present the data. You know, the correlation between da-da-da was not significant. Spearman's test, bloop, bloop, bloop. So it's not graphed. And then if there is a significant trend where you correlate your number of lichen, your size of lichen to light intensity, for example, then you need to graph it and say, because of the correlation, it appears that this is a cause. Because you come down here, and you're talking about it's proven right I don't see a graph. I don't see a statistical test that I can actually read. So I think we need a bit of work to be able to say this. Rest of this is fairly good. Come to evaluation. Okay, you've got 3 graphs. I don't know what you're referring to here. So which graph is this? Do they all have an R-squared of this? It's unclear yet. I presume you're going to add something here so it'll make more sense. Doesn't yet. While this information is good and useful, it really matches the old curriculum now much more than the new curriculum. If you're under your word count, keep it. If you're not under your word count, then I suggest lose it. Even though it is good stuff, we've got to match the IB DP Biology curriculum. If you remember this, the evaluation is marked in 2 strands. Strand 1, the problems, the limitations, the issues. Strand 2, the specific solutions. When I look at this, I see a lot of problems. Good. But I don't see any solutions, which means you're limited to half the marks possible, 3 out of 6, before we get there. So I would suggest another column here, specific solutions, make them all narrower, fit the page, yada, yada, yada. They don't have to be the same width. They can be whatever width you need to make it fit your page. Finally, with your evaluation, you need some sort of measure of relative importance to get a 5-6. Without this, you cannot. Coming down here, it's a works cited, put that after the title, looking good. Now remember, your in-text citations definitely need work because they don't match the first words here. So when people come and look for them, they're not going to find them. Finally, I suggest a blank line between each citation. Now I look at this. Is this a citation and is this a citation? If so, this is missing information. If not, then that should not be starting here. It should be indented. Make these changes and I believe this will be a good piece of work.